All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. Uh, right, 3 reviews, 1 impressions video this week, which always fucks up the flow here. But sometimes we get early access things. I'm like, and this week's game is very much an early access game. Not just in terms of polish, but in terms of content. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Because up first is CARRION. Right. So I suppose first I will note it's the rarefied, not provided by a game. It's something that's filling a space. Because the actual game I was working on was having a issue with my drivers that I couldn't pin down. So it's been shunted off to one of the other reviewers here for a later date. Right. That's the nature of early access for you. I mean, PC gaming in general, but especially early access. It's why I'm not particularly keen on it, but, we deal with way too much early access stuff these days to not have it on the pile. And thus, I reached for literally the first thing on my games ready to go at a moment's notice list. That I have about 20 games pinned on Steam at any given time. The favorites, in case I need something. This was up at the top. So CARRION here. Let's see. So it bills itself as a reverse horror game. I'm like, that's a good way to put it on the surface, because now I'm not sure if the creature you're playing as is actually undead or anything like that.
Or is just kind of some sort of alien symbiote?
Alien, I do know that. Like, I've played far enough ahead to get some of the background story. Basically a mutant. I'm just not exactly sure if we're talking about the undead here. You might think this is important, but that's, CARRION is about a dead carcass, not necessarily about a fleshy pulp of mass here. Right? But anyway. But yeah, you can definitely see why it's a reverse horror game, because, you're playing as the monster who eats the... Well, in this case, probably other monsters. Because, who is the greatest monster of them all? Man. That's probably what they're angling here for. I will say you will have to infer what's going on, because there's no text here. At least, there's no narrative text.
Yeah. As I say, there's tutorial text, but then,
Yeah. But there's nothing that's textually related here. It's all done through, and also no dialogue either. So you have to infer by image here. And, a lot of stark images, if nothing else. But anyway, getting past the aesthetics and into the actual, gameplay, what kind of game is this? I am pleased to say it's nothing to do with roguelike or deck building. I mean,
at least not yet.
No. But it follows some of the other popular trends. But not as much as you might think. Because you might, well, in case you're not thinking it, like, this is an extensive Metroidvania. I suppose I'm going to have to dig in a bit to quantify that, because this works in the more basic framework of what a Metroidvania is, but in other regards, it's not. That is to say, you are going across the land here, and you will get upgrades to your beast that will help you progress. You know, like this barrier right here. You need to get an upgrade in order to get past it. You know, especially that passage leads to an optional place that you can get a optional power up. So, you know, along those lines, very firmly in Metroidvania territory. But where it differs, like, is in the finer aspects of Metroidvania structure. It's always interesting when a game gives me these things to talk about. Because the actual layout isn't traditional Metroidvania, which is, you know, one interconnected world that you have to explore. No, this is much more stage-based. You know, like what Petty's angling for here is the next portal to the next area. So we have a more traditional level by level structure here, which is something you typically don't find in Metroidvanias. Sure, you find like different distinct areas, but their level transitions aren't like this, where, you know, you get the full-on like load screen and what have you. And what's being displayed here is really what this game is actually all about. You know, this isn't a platformer. Once again, this has come up when we have games of this nature. You know, in order to be a platformer, you have to have jumping and platforms and stuff like that. This is a side scroller, but this monster can't jump. It tentacles around.
Yeah. You looks like you have full movement.
Yes.
As long as there is a wall to climb on.
Yep. And it's also worth noting this game is controlled by the twin sticks. And given the full range of movement, it's actually a game where I don't mind having the stick movement in a side scroller. Because having that for a traditional 2D platformer, not optimal. Anyway, getting back to my earlier point here, this game, it doesn't advertise it on the box, and it doesn't come up in perhaps in conventions until a bit later on. This game is a puzzle game. That's what this game is really about. It's about figuring out how to open these doors. You know, and yeah, sometimes you'll come across a door that's done Metroidvania style. You know, you have to get the power up. I guess that's more Zelda style. You know, in the level you will get a power up, and you have to use that power up to beat the level. But still, even before that, you have to puzzle out how to get around, whether it be opening doors or getting around the guards. And the guards will upgrade themselves as you go along, and your monster will also upgrade. We probably won't be I'm not sure if we're going to get to it, but maybe we will. But another thing another curveball this game will levy here. Now, I guess not with this power up. Shoot a cobweb to trap your victims. You will be using that less for your victims and more for this, to get to hard to reach levers. You got to aim it properly. You see what I'm saying here? This is a puzzle game. You know, it's not a puzzle platformer because, once again, you have to have platforms and platforming, jumping to have that. So it's a puzzle side-scroller horror game. So if nothing else, it's definitely a unique combination of things. If not aesthetically, then certainly mechanically. Anyway, so yeah, later on, the next curveball that's thrown out is, after a couple of upgrades, your actual mass will increase along with your health. But here's the thing. Each level of monster, let's say, has a different power subset. And you're actually going to need to do some switching between the forms in order to get around. Like this smaller form, in addition to the nets, which you won't be able to do on level 2, will get a stealth power-up that you won't be able to do in your bigger incarnation. And I got as far in this game as level 3. This is one of those games that I wanted to play more, but let's just say it's been a hectic week. So gameplay time was limited. But in terms of how it all comes together, rather excellently. Like, this game is pretty ingenious in all of its function and form and aesthetics. You know? I especially like how the monster controls. Like, shockingly smooth. It can, see, this is another dynamic of a more traditional level design. You're trying to find like 3 or 4, however many, portals to corrupt, and that'll open this portal that'll open the way ahead. And just from a personal perspective, this is a refreshing mixing of tropes. Because, here's the thing. We play a lot of Metroidvanias on the show. It's one of the favorite types of game design on the indie circuit. So to come across a game that, takes that framework and plays around with it so creatively is refreshing. And to do it in, once again, such a unique perspective is also very intriguing. Like, even, this is a game I wanted to cover years ago, but Devolver Digital never answered their emails. So it goes. And, now as far as how it works as a horror game, well, I suppose it's classifying itself as a reverse horror game. So, yeah, it's not all that scary unless you find the general vibe here scary. Because remember, you're the monster, not the victim. You're not playing as the survival horror victim or anything like that.
Unless just seeing the stuff creeps you out.
That's what I was getting at. Like I said, if you if this amount of gore and viscera sets you off, then yeah, it's going to be nightmare-inducing. But in general, it's much less scarier to be the not almighty creature, because you are very much vulnerable to stage hazards, bullets, but punishment is minimal. It's modern game design minimal. It's not even like you will leave behind, currency or anything like that, because there's nothing like that in the game. It's just,
A mild
you'll go
loss
back,
of your time.
a bit of progress. That's about it.
'Cause, yeah, I'm noticing checkpoints around, so
Yep.
definitely one of those die and go back to a checkpoint type deals.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, all in all, I find this game to be a brilliant exercise in what it's achieving. But I can, it's definitely not a game that has mass appeal either. Even among indie games, because it's very fleshy, it's very ugly, in a in a horror vibe. In terms of its actual graphics, it's very impressive pixel art. Probably some of the best I've seen in a good long while. It's like, and the detail orientation is once again impressive. Just look at this monster and how string bean it moves. That had to have taken some time to render. Anyway, in terms of pricing, rather affordable game, though a bit on the higher tier of the typical indie pricing. That is to say, it is normally retailing for $20. Though, since we're recording this in the midst of the big summer Steam sale, it's going for $5.99. Obviously, at the reduced price, it's a no-brainer. But like I said, we have to evaluate at the usual price point. So the question being, is this game worth $20? Yes, I'd say so. Provided, you're not squeamish. Also worth noting, there is a deluxe edition, because this game did get a DLC episode. Christmas episode. Didn't get around to that because, well, it was a Christmas episode. Plus, I was still busy with the main game. But it's, not exactly sure how much the bundle is running, but it's probably worth picking up the bundle as well. And you'll get the soundtrack. Not sure if the soundtrack's worth it. It's like the soundtrack is ambient. Nothing really sticks out here.
I guess
anyway,
there is mod support in the game, so
yes, yes, there does seem to be quite the extensive mod community for this game as well.
Yeah, I'm thumbing through Worktop at the moment. There are some funny mods for the character dude.
Right. And I think there's like I saw a mod for like a one hit kill run, stuff like that. I'm sure there's probably a human nude mod, because it's a mods.
There's campaign mods. There's a terrain mod. Huh.
Come on.
What?
I want to say I'm about 75%. There's probably some titty mods there.
I'm not seeing anything. I think this mod group is fairly well behaved.
That's genuinely surprising. Like, just because I'm just so used to horny being, in all corners of the internet, it seems.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not seeing any. Yeah, this is the group is well behaved.
Yeah. Anyway, overall, yeah, one of the best games I've played this year. Really don't got much more than that. Petty, anything you wish to add since you've been playing the game?
It's pretty interesting. I think you pretty much covered on everything. So
Good. All right, so yeah, that'll about do it for Carrion. Be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fan gives his impressions on Crystalla.